to here, the very first pose is Shavasana. So lying down on the floor just for a couple of minutes. Let yourself kind of let the day and the week move out of your body. So lying down on the floor, letting the feet out to the corner edges of the mat, slowing the breath down, letting the muscles in the face relax, soften. And gradually noticing the difference in how you breathe. Letting it slow down. Letting it become smoother, silkier kind of exchange of breath in, breath out. Doesn't have to be regular. See if you can explore the possibility of breathing in from low down in the belly. Now continuing to lie on the floor. Open the eyes and just bring the fingertips onto the collarbones for some angel wings. So we bring the elbows together in the center of the chest. Inhale the elbows up past the eyes and over the head towards the back of the mat. Try and press the elbows into the floor and draw them out to the side, back in towards the ribs. And then lift the elbows across the chest again till the elbows can touch. And then draw them up towards the end of the mat and out to the sides into these beautiful big circles, or half circles. Now I'm doing this in a seated position, but I have asked you to do it in a lying position, so don't confuse with what you see with what you hear. And we're going to let the hands come back down by the side of the body, and hopefully your block is not too far away. We'll take the block between the hands, so palms facing in, and the hands will be directly above the shoulders, and we'll bring the feet together so they touch and start to point the feet away. You're going to draw the belly in and the lower back into the floor, and then on the next exhale, you're going to let the hands drip behind you towards the ground. Now see if you can let that block touch the ground behind you, and then bring it back up. So exhaling down, drawing the belly in, keeping as much of your spine connected as you can, pointing the toes away, and then bringing that back up. Then we'll just take that a little further. We'll let the legs point, the arms drop back, and this time as we bring the hands, we flex the toes towards us. Extend the toes away. Rock the block back. Keep the spine flat to the floor. And bring it back in. One more time. Extend out, lengthen. Flex back in. And then bring the block back to the chest. Just take it out to the side. Allow yourself to bring your knees in towards your body. We're going to place the hands on top of the kneecaps. And we're just going to make some nice big circles with those knees in the sky. So we're opening the groins and we're going to move slowly. And we'll let the shoulders move as well. So we'll get a little bit of a lift through the shoulders and then drop them away. We'll draw the belly down towards the floor again, so we get a little tilt running through the back of the pelvis, forwards and backwards, just a tiny little movement to work out some of the stresses in the lower back, especially if you've been a little bit sedentary today due to work commitments or just life in general. Bring knees in towards the body. The last time. Take the hands around the shins, chin in towards chest, a little hug. And you can roll on the spine if that feels good. And then staying in a sort of more upright position with the chin towards chest, we'll allow ourselves to take the knees wide, bring the hands through, and we're ready for happy baby. So we'll lie the spine back down to the floor and lift the soles of the feet towards the sky and draw the tailbone down to the floor. So you get a sense of pinning your spine to the ground. Your head and your shoulders are on the floor. I'm just having a look at the clock, make sure how we're doing for time. I wouldn't want you to do too much or too little. Now we're going to take this into half happy baby. So I'm going to bring the right heel in towards my bottom. And then as I release my foot, bring it down to the center line and slide the heel out gently to the end of the mat. Flexing the foot, I'm going to lengthen the leg out and see if I can get the heel and my calf to rest on the floor. And then I'll exhale the legs back in. Take out my position again. Let myself cross over. Let my left leg out. Slowly stretch it away. I'm going to find if my hip flexors are tighter on one side than the other during this. I find it trickier to get the calf down to the floor. It's generally going to be your hip flexors that are a little bit sticky, which is the exactly reason why we're doing this, to stretch the little devils out. And then we'll slide both feet back in. And we'll have another little hug. Little hug fist this evening's class. We'll let the feet come down to the floor. Take the arms out wide. Head down to the ground. We're going to slide the legs over towards the right side, just dropping them down to the side of the mat. Seeing how that feels across the shoulders, the chest, down on the lower back. You can let the toes have a little wriggle and the fingers have a little wriggle. And then let everything in between soften and switch off. Just for a breath or two, feel it all sink. And we'll lift back up. On an inhale, and we get to roll over to the second side. And give your fingers and toes a wriggle. And then let go. And we continue to roll my body over to this left side. Use the hands to press into the floor to lift back up slowly. Spin my feet towards the back of the mat to come up onto all fours. Move, have the knees about hip distance apart, immediately tuck the toes underneath and sit back onto the heels, stretching the feet out. If you're able to climb higher, take a little more weight through the toes. You take the arms out wide, relax the shoulders, and we'll bring the left arm across and lock the right arm underneath into a surface stretch. And then we'll release. Float the arms across the opposite way. And we'll release the hands again to the floor. Go right up into the front of the mat. Untuck the toes, and we'll just press the knees away from the floor a little bit so we stretch the feet out the opposite way. Then bring the knees back down, and we'll start cat-cow. Just rolling the shoulders back. And then tilting the pelvis, letting the spine round up towards the sky. Coming forwards. And rolling out. Now we'll come back into a nice steady position where we're going to take the right leg and send that back. The left leg, send that back into a plank. Now we're going to pulse the shoulders. So we're going to let the shoulder chest drop down, and then we press away from the floor. Let it drop down and press away from the floor. Press out through the heels. Keep the belly strong, with the hips lifted to about the height of the shoulders. And we're just pressing away. And then we'll bring the knees down to the floor. And we'll cross the ankles over. Allow ourselves to lift the toes just off the ground. I'm going to take the hands one hand distance forwards, and then lean into that so that your shoulders are now over your wrists. Keep your belly drawn in, and we're going to bend the elbows back and let ourselves sink forwards into a half press up and back. Hinge forwards and press back, forwards and back, forwards, back, forwards into that half plank position and back. And then we bring the feet back to the floor, bring the hands back to the floor. Take a little breath from there. We'll sit down onto the ground, turn the palms up towards the sky for a moment. Head down, we come into child's pose. Now let the elbows drop so that you can soften the shoulders a little. And then we'll lift up onto all fours. Tuck the toes underneath into down dog. And just let yourself stretch the legs out a little bit, see how that feels. Take the feet as wide as the mat, straight legs, let the heels move to the ground by walking the fingers back a little, keeping the hips as high as I can. Once I've made contact, left hand comes over to the outside of the right wrist. In danger of my glasses falling off. Good job, I can't see what's going on. I'll bring my hands back to the ground. Cross over to the opposite side. We're turning the body under, keeping the legs straight, lifting the hips high, pressing down through the soles of the feet, and to my one remaining hand that's on the floor. And we'll bring both hands back. Walk the hands back into my normal down dog position at the front of the mat. Bring the feet back into about hip distance apart, and then lift the hips up higher as I start to edge my toes, a few inches at a time, into the front of the mat, bringing myself into a deep forward bend. And then lifting the fingers for that last part of the journey as I shuffle and stumble my way into the front of the mat. My hands onto the hips, take a little breath, let myself lift up. Inhale the hands high. Bring hands into the heart. Now soften the knees into chair pose. Shift the weight into the left leg, take the right foot away from the floor, heel into the buttock, and then kick the heel back into warrior three. Let the arms float out to the side. Try to keep the hips square to the ground and press out through the back heel, toes point down. Now, soften the front knee, bring the hands back in towards the heart. Step ourselves back into the chair pose. Set the feet up again. Take a little breath, shift the weight into the right. Heel lifts in towards the buttock. You send the foot back gradually. The arms float out wide. Now soften the front knee, come back into the chair. Let ourselves sit down even lower and take the hands out above the shoulders, tailbone down. Feet are parallel. Knees follow the toes. And we'll let ourselves lift up. The hands come out to the side and back into the heart. Take a breath in. Fold over the hips. Soften the knees as you need to. You'll take the right foot back, deep into the lunge, drop the heel onto the center line for warrior two. Bring hands onto the thigh or along the side of the body to get a little lift, but either way we come up into our warrior two. Now bring the hands in towards the heart. Spin the heel on the back leg up towards the skies. A little pause as you find your balance. The hands come back down to the floor. And take a twist so that left hand lifts. We bring it back down to the ground. We step back into our down dog. We'll come forwards into plank, and we're going to lower down all the way to the floor. So elbows into the body. And then untucking the toes, low cobra to lift. Exhaling. Inhaling up. Little squeeze and roll back of the shoulders at the top. And lengthen the spine. Thighs pressing down. We'll come up one more last time. And then bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs, shoulders and elbows back, press into the floor, sit back onto the heels, toes are tucked under, head to the ground. So it's a child's pose with the toes tucked under. Lengthen back into all fours till the shoulders are over the wrists, draw the belly in, lift the knee, ease ourselves back into our down dog, and draw the right knee in towards the chest, and bring the foot through to the front of the mat. Onto the fingertips, we lift into the lunge, we press out through the back heel, push off the toes, and we're into the forward fold. Hands come onto the hips, and we lengthen the body out to lift up. We'll just step into the front of the mat again, so we travel around in this version. Exhaling down again, nice long spine, soft knees, head drops in. Taking the left foot back, we drop the heel into the center line. Allow ourselves to lift in the way that we feel easiest to lift in. So if you're just warming up, that's fine. Hands in towards the heart. We're going to lift the back heel. Find balance. Come down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Come forwards into the plank. Again, we're going to go all the way down to the floor with relatively controlled effort. We'll take the hands out wide for gecko. So we come onto the fingertips, drive the legs down on the way, draw the belly in, exhale up, pressing into the fingers, inhale on the way down. Last lift. Hands to the bottom of the ribs. Press back. Sitting onto those heels again. Into our child pose. We'll take a breath here. Back onto all fours. Draw the knees away and into our down dog. Left knee draws in through for lunge. And press off the back foot into the fold. Up to the hips and we lift up. Then we'll step into the front of the mat. Hands into the heart as we breathe in. Exhaling down to the floor. We're going to take the right foot back. Allow ourselves to drop the knee down to the floor and untuck the toes. We're going to take the front foot out about 45 degrees and bring the left hand onto the hip. We're going to open the chest up as we let the knee roll out to the side. And then we'll extend that left hand up towards the sky. So we'll open the chest up a little more. And then as we bring it back, we're going to turn the foot back into parallel. Hands come to the ground. We're onto the fingertips. Tuck the back knee away. Drop the heel in. And we lift into our warrior two. We'll bring the hands back in towards the heart. We spin the back heel. Oops. Find our balance point. Fingers down to the floor. Get it back into our down dog. Come forwards into our plank. Half plank this time. Strong legs, knees away from the ground. Lift the chest. Back into our down dog. And we'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through for the lunge. And press off the toes into our forward fold. Let's come onto the hips and we lift. So we'll do the same again. Hands to the heart. Exhaling down long. Left foot goes back into the lunge. Drop the knee. Right hand comes onto the hip as we turn the foot out, let the knee hang out to the side. And then as we open the chest, we just let the hand flow out. So because we've already opened up the chest and it's rotated around, the hand is kind of drifting over towards the left side a little bit. But in reality, that arm is just lengthened out, following the line of the chest. I'm going to bring the hand back down to the floor. Take a little breath. Lift the back leg. Drop the heel in. Warrior two happens. Hands come into the heart. Rotate round slowly. Find your balance point. Hands come to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Come forwards into our plank. For half plank. To up dog. And into our down dog. I'll draw that left knee in through the lunge. And then press off the toes. Onto the mat. Hands onto the hips. And we lift a little higher. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. Taking the right foot back into the lunge, dropping the knee. Going to place the right hand down on the floor as we untuck the foot. Spin the left foot up as we bring the hand onto the hip. Turn the chest. And then we're going to lift the back foot in towards your bottom. Take your hand back, find your foot. Draw the heel in towards your chest, to your bottom. Lift up your chest towards the sky. So you're going to rotate. Press down into the floor with that hand. Drop the hips. Let the knee hang out to the side. And heel into your buttock. Maybe not necessarily in that order, but eventually order those things. We'll release. Spin the front foot back in. Hands to the floor. Lift the back knee as you come onto your fingertips. Drop the heel back in for warrior two. Allow yourself to lift as you open up. Bring the hands in towards your heart. Spin slowly. Lift the back heel. Find your balance. Hands to the floor. Stepping it back into our down dog. Come forwards into plank. For half plank. Up dog. To down dog. Draw the right knee in for lunge. And then step forwards. So fold in. Hands onto the hips and we lift. So we've got another side to play with. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. Left leg back. Knee to the ground. Left hand down. Spin the right foot out as you bring your hand onto the hip. Open the chest. Drop the hip down, knee out to the side. Slowly draw your back heel in. Let your hands find your toes. And then use a little bit of effort in the hand to draw the heel in a little bit more. Get that little bit extra stretch down the front of the thigh. Rolling the chest up. And then we'll release. Bring everything back down to the floor. Lift the back leg, drop the heel in. Come up into our warrior two. Hands into the heart. Rotate the hip. Down to the floor. Back into our down dog. Half plank and up dog. Come forwards. Press up. Lift the hips. into your down dog and settle your posture. And we'll draw that left knee in and bring the foot through. Take a little breath and step into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Into the heart. Exhaling forwards. I'm going to take the right foot back, drop the heel in. I'm going to keep the body on the side and just take the hands behind the back. Interlace the fingers and then start to lift them towards the sky and drop your body onto the inside of that front thigh. So we come into humble warrior. Roll the shoulders together and away from your ears. Make as much space as you can. And then we're going to slowly bring the hands down to the floor and float the hands forwards and lift up and then open out into our warrior two. Hands come into the heart, we rotate the back heel, our hip turns, we drop down into our warrior, into our down dog. From our warrior two, we come forwards into our plank, half plank, up dog, into our down dog. And we'll step that right foot forwards to the front of the mat. Take a little breath. Press into the front, forward. Hands come onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift. Hands into the heart, last side, exhaling down. Left foot goes back. Drop the heel in. Use the hands behind the hips. Fingers reach and then lift towards the sky as we drop into the inside of this thigh. I'll let the hands release down, float them forwards, take them out in front, lift up. As we exhale, open the chest into warrior two, hands come into the heart, rotate and lift the back heel, stabilize. Body comes down to the floor and back into our down dog. Float forwards into our plank, half plank up dog. Down dog. Resting and pausing. Draw that left leg in and through. And then press off the back strong leg. Folding in. Hands come onto the hips and we lift our way back up. Hands into the heart. And hold, close the eyes, and just breathe. Now take a breath in, open the eyes, and exhale forwards again, down to the floor. And take the right foot back and drop the heel in. Let ourselves lift into our warrior two. And we'll take that into reverse warrior. So palm on the front hand lifts. We drop the back hand, lift the top hand up, strong back leg. We're going to see if we can take that arm over towards the rear of the mat. And then come back into our warrior two. We're going to extend forwards over the front thigh. Allow ourselves to lift the chest up towards the ceiling. And then on the exhale, we're going to slide the hand down to the floor. Bend the elbows. You can bring your hand underneath towards the outside of your hip. Binding your top hand over, you drop it down finger to finger, and then open the chest a little to the front of the mat. Release the hands back out and drop this top arm down to the floor, turning the chest downwards. Walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat, turning the toes in. Spend a moment there. Allow ourselves to press the feet down evenly and draw the thighs in a little bit. So we take more weight into the legs and more weight out of the fingertips. Now we're going to allow ourselves to take a little bit of a spinal twist here. So I'm going to drop the right hand down onto the floor underneath my chest. Allow the chest to turn to the left and then extend the hand up towards the sky to look towards my fingertips. Bring the hand back down to the floor and then progressively let myself take it over to the other side. And what you do in this, try to focus a little less on what's happening with the hand and the chest. They kind of confuse. Keep the feet pressing down and the thighs drawing in. The weight shift will become more noticeable when you focus on the legs and the arms. Well, they're just going to do their own bit. They're going to kind of enjoy themselves. Like young teenagers at their first party without their parents. Who knows what will happen? But we have to have a little faith. We'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Walk the fingers in towards the front of the mat. We're going to step back into our down dog and we're going to take a wave plank. So we're going to soften the knees, draw the belly in, round the spine up, and press ourselves into a plank. And then lift the hips back up into our down dog, soften the knees, draw the belly in, round the spine up towards the sky as we push forwards into our plank. Back into our down dog. Soften those knees. Round through. Back into our down dog. And we'll take the last one of those. Wrong glasses on, they keep falling off. It's not so good. Now from the plank position, we'll just draw the right knee in and see if we can make enough space to bring the leg through towards the front of the mat. Not as easy as taking it from down dog. Then press the back foot into that forward fold. Hands come onto the hips and we get to lift you up. Hands come into the heart. And we exhale down. Left leg goes back. We drop the heel in. Warrior two. We'll turn the palm into a reverse warrior. Extend that top arm up and over. And come back into warrior two. And lengthen out over the front thigh. Top hand goes high, forearm onto the front thigh. We take a breath We slide the hand down towards the floor. Maybe we get the whole palm, maybe it's just fingertips touching. But we bring the hand underneath towards the hip, drop the back hand in, open the chest a little more towards the front of the mat, and breathe. Now we release. Hand to the floor, hand to the sky. Then draw that hand down, chest turns in. And we walk fingers into the long side of the mat. Only this time we turn the toes out and we start to walk the fingers towards the rear of the mat, coming into a ninja squat. So we're going to pivot on the front heel and sit onto the back heel. Let the fingers come into the center of our body. We're going to lift up as high as we can. We're going to have these toes on the front leg point up towards the sky. Press out through the heel, so the hip socket in at the same time. And if you want to bring the hands away from the floor, you can do. You can do that one-handed or both hands. And then we're going to slide our way into the front of the mat. So we're going to try and keep that as low as we can. Cross over. Ourselves to find some confidence in the knees and the ankles and the toes. And then build ourselves up to coming into a more upright position, active long leg. And then we'll bring the fingers back down to the ground. Lift ourselves up into the center with the hands and turn the heels out, toes in. Hands are about shoulder distance apart, and we'll hinge at the hips down to the floor. Send the hips high, head low. And then we'll lift our way back up. Move into the front of the mat. Step back into our down dog. You can probably remember what we did last time. It's down dog plank wave, so we bend the knees a lot. Spine lifts up, come forwards, into our plank. Lift up into our dogs. Easy bends, belly in, ripple through the spine, coming forwards and back. Soften some knees, roll it over, lift it up, soft knees, roll through, back into our down dog for the last time, and then finally bringing the knees down to the floor, little cat cow, which should feel quite a bit different. The body should be nicely warmed up by now. Now you can allow yourself to take that into some barrel rolls as well if that feels good. Which, apart from working into the spine differently, also challenges the hips a little bit. As you let the tail rock out from side to side. And if you're taking that option, you might want to go in both ways. Just to equal out the stresses through the hips. Letting out the muscles and tendons equally in both directions. And then we'll come back into neutral. Just let ourselves sit on the heels for a breath. Bring the hands onto the lap. I've got right hand on top of left, thumbs facing forward, palms high. have another Friday night favorite as we bring the hands forwards back into our down dog. The holy trinity of knees touching elbows, nose, and triceps. So from our down dog position, we'll draw the left knee in towards the chest, and then we'll sink through, shoulders over wrists, knee to nose touch. Lengthen the leg out into a three-legged scissor. We'll draw the knee in towards the chest again, travel forwards, tap the tricep on that side, back into your dog, and lengthen the leg out. Knee comes back in. This time it's the back of the elbow, a little lower, crossing over the body. Leg lengthens out and then back down to the floor. Take the opposite leg high, knee in towards the chest, come through, knee to nose. Get a little bit of a touchy-feely thing going on. Knee in towards the chest, tricep to the right with the right knee, lengthen the leg back out, crossing over, elbow tap, back into dog, left leg, and foot comes to floor. Left leg lifts, knee in towards the chest, you travel forward, knee to nose, lengthen the leg out, scissor, and take it out to the left, tap the tricep, back into the dog, three legs, knee to the chest, cross over, tap the elbow. Back into your dog, leg lengthens out, and foot comes to the floor. You take the last side, right leg lifts, knee into the chest, travel forwards, lengthen the leg back out, knee to the chest, tricep tap, keep it high, back, cross over, elbow, a little lower, lengthen the leg out, split to the floor. We come forwards into plank. You're going to take a side plank, right hand lifts. Stream of sunlight coming through the curtains, blinding my eyes. So I'm just going to believe you're doing this with me. Bring the hands down to the floor, cross over to the other side. Bring the hands back in, knees to the floor. We're going to take the block behind and allow ourselves to take the feet out towards the front of the mat. So just sitting in Dandasana, going to kind of just move the flesh around a little bit. And I'm going to take the feet wide apart. So as wide as comfortably as you can find. I'm going to bring the left heel into the groin, the knee down on the floor. I'm going to try and lengthen out through this long leg, but I'm going to be conscious that my knee will naturally be away from the ground. So I'm not going to press down, I'm going to lengthen out, flex the foot back, spread the toes. I'm going to turn the body towards the bent knee and take that right hand down. I'm going to take the left hand around my body and just see if I can either bring the hand onto the top of this thigh. If not, I'm going to do what I do, which is take hold of your waistband behind your back. And then on the exhale, we're going to slide down over that extended leg. Going to see if we can hook fingers, index finger, middle finger around the big toe. Draw the body out towards that foot. As you do draw your body out, try to press the sitting bones down into the floor and that bent knee into the ground a little as well. So we get plenty of extension in the body as well as the side bend. And we'll release and come back up. So I'm going to take the legs back out again the opposite way. Feed the hand around again. You can use that little bit of time to take the hand into the waistband. If hand to thigh link up doesn't quite work in your shoulders and your body at this time, mine very rarely does. I have to be super warmed up, and even after doing 50 minutes of vinyasing, that's not enough. Maybe 2 hours is the limit for me. I'm going to lengthen out. Fingers and thumbs, hook around, big toes. I'm trying to keep the elbow on the shin to help keep the knee in a long line rather than pressing down into the kneecap. I just want to sort of on the location, help that lengthen the leg out, and then draw my body towards the toe, press the sitting bones down into the floor and bend knee. There's a big lower back muscle, the quadriceps laborium, and that can get very tight and sticky if we spend a lot of time sitting or just sit at tree. Doesn't matter, it could be standing as well. Have the same effect, it kind of jams itself up. It's a major movement muscle for us, so it's fast twitch, gets tired quick. Believe it or not, this is TLC for that muscle. And then we'll relax and lift our way back up. So I'm just going to bring the heels in, and I'm going to lift off of my block, come onto my belly and untangle my legs, move myself into the Sphinx pose. So thighs away, toes away, forearms shoulder distance apart, underneath. Going to draw the chest forwards, belly in and lengthen out. Found the TV. Let the shoulders roll back a little, belly in. Get as much height as we can, but still keeping those hips planted against the floor. And I'm going to let myself come down. I'm going to bring the hands underneath the chin. Elbows out wide, relax the shoulders and wriggle out the hips a little bit, so soften them out. And we'll take the hands forward, shoulder distance apart, little fingers down, thumbs high. I'm going to press the hands down into the floor so we're pushing the chest away from the ground a little bit. I'm going to walk the hands in just a fraction to help with that. And then we're going to alternate the legs and arms. So I'm going to lift my right hand and left thigh away from the ground as I inhale and exhale them back down. Cross over to the opposite side and just rotate from there. So we're going to keep the chest lifted. I'm kind of looking towards the hands a little bit. And I'm going to see how far I can lift my thigh away from the ground. So I kind of press the body into the floor a little bit to help with that. I'm not too worried about getting the hand to be big lift. In fact, I find in my body, if I kind of play that a little cooler with the hand lifty bit, I get a little bit more lift in the back leg, and it's working into the glutes and the hip flexors. It's going to feel it in the back as well, but it's the coordination of firing up of the muscles through the buttocks, lifting the thigh away that we're looking for. Looking for whatever we can do on one side, being able to do the same on the opposite side with the same amount of effort. So if we're struggling on one side to get to the same point, at least we know that we have a bit of an imbalance there to work through. And then we're going to bring the hands back underneath the chin and just wriggle out the hips a little from side to side. Now I'm going to roll onto my back and I'm going to keep my head the same end of the mat. And I'm going to bring the heels in towards my bottom so the knees are high and let the arms come out wide. And then I'm going to let the legs roll over towards the right, head to left. Wriggle out the fingers and the toes again. Deep breath in and allow myself to shut everything down as I turn it off and let myself sink into the mat. Inhale the top leg up, exhale the bottom leg up. Realign the spine if I need to, and then roll it over to the other side. Wriggle the fingers and the toes again. Take a breath in. As I begin to exhale, let the hands relax and everything softens. And we'll bring the legs back, one leg at a time, just as we did before. Lengthen the spine out. Heels roll out to the corner edges of the mat. The hands come a little closer to the side of the body, palms facing up, which sink into our Shavasana. Start to wriggle those fingers and toes, keeping the eyes shut for a moment. Gradually let those wrists and ankles begin to move. Take a couple of deeper breaths in. And when we're ready, we're going to let ourselves take a nice stretch, whatever that looks like. We're going to move slowly and gently into this stretch, whatever it turns out to be. It's going to follow our instincts. And I'm going to let the heels draw in towards the body slowly, a leg at a time. Draw that along the floor so we keep that spine and pelvis in a neutral position. We're going to ease the knees in towards the body and just take ourselves into a gentle hug. So the easiest version of that is to take the hands around the back of the thighs, just let the knees roll out to the side a little bit, to draw the knees down. And then I'm going to release and let myself roll onto my right side. Turn the chest down to the floor, taking a breath and using the hands to press into the ground to lift back up. So I ease myself into comfortable seated posture, whatever that looks like. Let the spine lengthen out a little bit as well. And I bring the hands in towards the heart for closing. Taking a longer breath in, eyes closed, chin drops. Slow exhalation takes place. Careful bow to the floor to seal the practice. And we'll use that breath coming back in to build the spine. Lifting the head and opening the eyes. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for our Friday night core. Have a lovely weekend, and I shall see you soon.